What's up, guys? So here's another update. So I've almost got the engine ready to go in the car. You can see I've got the transmission all bolted up to it. I've got most of the stuff installed, most of the stuff swapped over. I had to fix a wire on the wiring harness. It was right here. It goes to some random sensor. I'm not sure what the sensor's for, but fix that wire. Here's what's left. Is, well, that hose for one. The alternator, an AC compressor to put on there, and I need a new knock sensor. So, this is the knock sensor that came on my new motor, and it's a 2-wire knock sensor. And the one that came on the original motor was a 1-wire knock sensor. So I went to swap the knock sensor out onto my new motor and found that my knock sensor is just like broken in half. So one thing about my old motor is that I didn't really notice it being slow or anything, but I mean it wasn't very fast, but it had a ton of miles, right? And it also ran rich. It also just didn't really run that good. Didn't really get good gas mileage as well as it should. I think I got like 25 or something, and it really should get like 30. But I'm wondering if that's because the knock sensor was broken, or if it got broken whenever I pulled the motor out or something. I don't know. But either way, I need a new knock sensor. So, as you can see, I've got this thing on rollers, and I was really wanting to slide it under the car and get it bolted up today. But that's not going to happen because I got to replace the knock sensor first. So, the knock sensor goes underneath the intake manifold. You can see that hole right there. Right there is where it goes. So obviously, I do not want to put this in the car before replacing that knock sensor. So I'm going to replace that knock sensor. But once I get that knock sensor in there, I can get it plugged in. Then I'll put the alternator on here. Then I'll put the AC compressor down there. And then this thing's going in the car. So I ordered a new knock sensor. I called around everywhere. Every parts store I could think of, plus some that I didn't even know existed. I called salvage yards, I called Toyota, I called everybody. And nobody has a knock sensor. Toyota says they're like on back order. And nobody has them, which is surprising because this is such a common engine. And also, I found out they use the same knock sensor on like the V6 Toyotas as well. So I don't know why the knock sensor is so hard to come by. Probably because they don't really go out. You know, mine's just like broken. You know what I mean? Which isn't a normal failure mode, I wouldn't think. But, so anyway, here's my plan for putting the motor in. So I've got it on rollers, and I'm going to be sliding it under here. So the challenge is that I need to jack the car up so that it can slide under. Then I need to lower the car down around the engine. So this is a pretty large gap here, so a jack isn't going to work. So here's my plan. I'm going to jack it up right there, and then lower the jack stands. So I'm going to jack it up right there, which I've already tested it. If I jack it up right there, it will go high enough for the engine to slide in. So I'm going to jack it up right there. Then I'll slide the engine under here. Then I'm going to lower those jack stands, and then set it back down on the jack stands, and then bring the jack around and jack it from behind. Then remove the jack stands and then lower it all the way down so that I can bolt the motor mounts in. So that is my plan. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, as you can see, I finished putting everything in the engine bay that I can. So I've got my hood latch bolted up. I've got my struts installed. I put some nice new nuts on there. I put some wrinkle paint on here. You know, I'm waiting on a knock sensor, so I might as well, you know, mess with it a little bit. So one thing you'll notice, I have this little cap on here, on this side, but I lost the one that goes here. I can't find it anywhere. It's got to be in here somewhere, but I've looked all over for it. But I'm sure I'll find it once I get done putting the motor in and everything. I'll probably find it. Not a big deal. But that looks really nice, doesn't it? With those nice shiny nuts and a nice wrinkle black on there. It looks pretty good. This seal here, I cleaned it up, sprayed some silicone on it. It looks real nice. So yeah, the wiring harness, I replaced some of the electrical tape with some nice cloth electrical tape. Looks nice. Looks way better than it did anyway. So yeah, it's looking good. So unfortunately, I can't put a full day's work into it today. I cleaned these up. I don't know if I showed that already, but I cleaned those up, power washed them so that they look nice and pretty. So engine bay is looking fantastic, and so is the engine. So you might notice that valve cover is pretty grimy, and I do plan on doing something with the valve cover. I'll probably, I don't know, I've got a couple ideas. So one thing I could do is I could do wrinkle red like the old one, and it'll actually turn out a lot better because it's summertime. I did that one in the middle of winter. But I could do wrinkle red, or I could paint it championship white, or I could hydro dip it. So I've got some pretty cool hydro dipping film, so I might do that. I got this cool galaxy film, and you got to paint it white first and then dip it. But I don't know. I'll think about it. But I'm not going to do anything to the valve cover until I've got it in the car, because, you know, I don't want to get it all scuffed up and stuff while I'm installing the engine. But I do plan on doing something with the valve cover. It's not going to stay all nasty looking like that. But so that is pretty much it for an update. One other thing that I'm doing is, you can see here I had a pretty gnarly exhaust leak over here. You see that? And the reason why is because, you know, when I first got the car, it didn't have a muffler or a catalytic converter, and so I installed it. And while I was installing it, this stud broke while I was bolting it up. And this one actually was already broken, so I had drilled it out and replaced it with a nut and bolt. So that one, the hole's too big now for a stud, but when I was taking it out, this one kind of screwed up too. So I ordered some new studs. So I ordered 2 new studs and nuts, and I ordered a tap and a die too, just in case. So that exhaust leak will be gone. But I'm gonna have to fix that. Here's my other parts that I gotta put in after the engine's in. Well, before the engine goes in, and then the axle. There's the the sway bar. I've just got parts everywhere. I've got my coolant pipe here, some motor mounts, there's all the nuts and bolts, there's a pile of parts that go in. So there's still a little bit to do, but yeah, hopefully tomorrow morning I'm gonna go get my new knock sensor. Hopefully it's the correct one, and hopefully I can get this thing bolted in the car tomorrow. That's my goal for tomorrow. Today's pretty much shot because I can't do anything without that knock sensor now. So today's pretty much shot. Not a big deal. I need to rest anyway. But you can see how nice that electrical tape is. Pretty nice. But yeah, that's the goal for tomorrow, is to get it bolted in the car. I think that's doable. I've got a good plan. I don't need any special equipment, just a floor jack. I can do it. So one thing that was pretty cool, I had to be a little creative, was getting it on these rollers was not easy because this thing is heavy. So what I did was I put my motor mount bracket back on, put this extension in there, and then I got a long pipe and stuck it in there. That way I could lift it up and slide the roller underneath. So that was pretty easy. So now I can roll this thing around, and I can just roll it right underneath the car, lower the car onto it, put the motor mounts in, and then the hard part's done. Then I just gotta install everything. So here's what I gotta install on the back. You can see I've got these two coolant pipes, and then I've got that one there. That's also a coolant pipe. Here's my throttle cable. Right over there I have my shift linkage, my shift cables. Gotta install those. That hole over there, that's where the wiring harness will go. I'm kind of having deja vu. Did I show you guys that already? I probably did. I don't know. But yeah, so that's it. I wish I had more of an update, because not a lot's changed, you know what I mean? I really wish I could show you the motor in the car, but that's going to be tomorrow. But that'll be a big step to get that back in the car. I really want to get this thing going this weekend, or sooner. But that's it for this video, guys. I've rambled on long enough. Said the same things over and over. But yeah, it's getting closer. And yeah, I'm hoping once I replace this knock sensor, I'm hoping this thing's gonna run good. It'll probably be faster, get better gas mileage. It's not gonna have that exhaust leak, so it's gonna sound better. So this thing's gonna be much improved. I'm really glad. Then I can concentrate on aesthetics, painting it. I am gonna have to work on my air compressor first, but yeah. Get this thing painted, looking nice, get a new top on it, all that jazz. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. See you next time.